Amazing.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good morning, good evening. It's great to be here with Driftawave with Gina.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yes, I'm so excited to kick off today. I'm based in the United States. This is the first event I have this morning. So I'm really excited to be able to share more about the ocean with you all as the start of World Ocean Day kicks off and share a little bit more about our Driftawave inaugural trip last month or I guess it's still this month, but earlier this month in Croatia. I'm really excited to be here with you all today, and I'll pass it over to Gina, who can tell you a little bit more about what to expect from this webinar.
Thank you so much. So my name is Gina. I'm the founder of Driftawave. We recently had a trip in Croatia, and our incredible Mark came along, and he educated us about ocean protection, and the states of basically reefs and oceans around the world. So he'll be telling a little bit more about that in a short presentation for about 15-20 minutes. When we were on the yacht, it was actually very, very incredible. The conversation just kept on going and going because everybody had heard different things or different inputs. So it was very interesting. That's why we would like to share it on a larger scale. And besides that, we will be sharing a little bit more information about the trip in Croatia and what to expect from that. So overall, it should take about 25 minutes tops.
Woohoo! So let's go ahead and get started. What do you say, Gina? Yeah?
Let's go. Rock
Great.
and roll.
So I would love to share my screen. I created a presentation when I was on board the ship, and I'd love to share a part of that with you all so that you too can understand your connection to the ocean and so you get a better grip on what are some issues affecting the Adriatic Sea. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. You guys can see my LinkedIn. Now you can see my Google Slides, right?
Keep on rocking that LinkedIn, Mark.
Ah, you know it. You know it, learning from the best. Yes, so it's really nice to be included in Driftawave, and I'm so excited because I too am a digital nomad. I was living in Washington, D.C., and just realized, oh my gosh, this is an expensive place to live. I'm working multiple jobs. I love to travel, but I feel nailed down by work. What can I do? And I ended up finding a remote job that allowed me to travel while working. I first started traveling for just 4 months to enjoy the freedom I had. And then I instantly fell in love with it and realized I can do this for more than 4 months. So now we're coming up on 2 years this August of digital nomading all over the place, from Latin America to Europe to North Africa and more. It's really great to be able to connect with people like Gina and startup companies like Driftawave because they have such an innovative approach to how we can work in the 21st century. It's really, really wonderful not only to understand how Gina and Driftawave are creating community for digital nomads, remote workers, or professionals who just want to switch up the work from home life, but it's also really nice not just to have this community together, a community together that travels, but a community together that travels on the ocean is truly the best of all worlds. It's really, really great to also combine my work with the experience that we had on the boat. I was trained as a marine biologist in university, and for more than a few years now, I have been working to protect the ocean, to fight against climate change, to promote responsible consumption and production, and especially in relationship with sustainable fashion. So it was really exciting that I could share a bit about what are some of the issues affecting the ocean to ocean lovers and to travelers so that they too can be armed with the right information that can help them and help us collectively understand what we can do to better our relationship with the planet and 70% of the planet, the ocean. So that's a little bit about me. I want to now talk more about the ocean. So
Woo-hoo.
Some people have a connection to the ocean, some people don't. I grew up and my parents wanted to stay far away from the ocean. They preferred the cold, they preferred the forests, they preferred the mountains, not so much the beach, the sand, and the heat. So I had to come into my own relationship with the ocean later in life. And here are some of the things that always just seemed to blow my mind. One, the ocean is truly huge. And the maps and the globes that we look at really do not account for just how large the ocean is. If we took every piece of landmass in the world and put it all together in one giant supercontinent and put it in the Pacific Ocean, all the land in the world can fit inside the Pacific Ocean, and there's still more Pacific Ocean. So when we're talking about 70% of our planet, it's truly this vast frontier of exploration. Even though we've already mapped the surface of Mars and the surface of the moon, we still don't know what the seafloor looks like. We only have 30% of global seafloor mapped. When we think about fitting all the land masses inside the Pacific Ocean, we think about just how much volume there is and just how much we have left to discover every single time we do one of these deep sea excursions and expeditions. Scientists find new species, species that have lights glowing from wherever, species with huge females and parasitic males, species that, do they really have an expiration date? How long has the species been alive? 10,000 years, a single organism? So it's truly not only a place of wilderness, but it's also a place of discovery. However, it's more than just these awe-inspiring things, it's our very life force. Every other breath you take comes from the ocean. The Amazon is referred to as the lungs of the earth, but we need to make sure that we look at the ocean and recognize just how much it gives us as well. People often talk about climate change nowadays, but many people still don't realize that the ocean is our climate and the climate is our ocean. The ocean has absorbed over 90% of excess heat and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere since 1980. If it wasn't for the ocean acting as a buffer for all the excess heat and greenhouse gas emissions that we've been causing, we would already have runaway climate effects. Truly, the ocean is keeping everything in check, and the deep ocean currents that pull water in the deepest parts of the ocean from one place to another are the reason why climate and weather can look different all across the same latitude. And even though the ocean is our climate and the climate is our ocean, we are ocean and the ocean is us as well. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, think about how much of the planet is water and think about how much of the human body is water. And I think one of the most interesting things that connects us to the ocean is the fact that whenever we cry, our tears have the same salt content as your average drop of seawater. So we cry ocean. Uh, and I think that's also not just something that emotionally connects us to the ocean, but potentially a call to action when we think about what the ocean is going through. We all have a part to play in managing our relationship with the planet. And the cool thing is that when the planet thrives and when the ocean thrives, those benefits do come back to us. What were some of the reasons why Croatia was so special? Well, as you know, we have the larger Mediterranean Sea. Everyone can look at the sea and spot the boot, Italy, and then in between the east coast of Italy and the Balkans, that's where you find the Adriatic Sea. And the Adriatic Sea is kind of like a haven for all these other species in the Mediterranean. In fact, 70% of all known fish species in the Mediterranean Sea are found in the Adriatic. So it's definitely one of the most biodiverse spots of the entire Mediterranean. And even though Croatia is a small country, it actually is one of the countries that has the largest number of islands in the world. There's over 1,000 islands. We talked to Antonio, he was our captain on the inaugural Driftawave trip, And he was telling us about how rich traditions go back in his family with sailing and fishing. He's from an island called Vis, and Vis is one of the islands that's farthest away from the Croatian mainland. So it's really interesting to think about how generations and generations of Croatians and the other civilizations that came before the modern Croatia that we know today, how much their lives and livelihoods have been built upon their relationship with the ocean. So there are a number of issues affecting the Adriatic, but I'm only going to talk about 3 today. I'm going to talk about marine pollution, I'm going to talk about overfishing, and I'm going to talk about over-tourism. Marine pollution. Now, when you open Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn nowadays, there's oftentimes some type of content showing us just how polluted some of our land and waters are with plastic. You'll find small plastic polystyrene pieces, and you'll even find fishing nets. Now, when most people think about marine plastic pollution, they think about straws in the ocean, but straws are really less than 2% of the plastics that we find. Actually, half of the plastic that we find in the ocean is discarded fishing gear. Fishing lines, fishing traps, all these other things, unfortunately, can lead to sad photos, like the one with the turtle here. And the thing is that plastic pollution doesn't have borders. So if I'm throwing trash off the west coast of Greece, it might travel up all the way to Croatia, where we can find it on the beach. So it's really important for us to recognize that even if Croatia does all these things to prevent plastic pollution, it has to be a collective fight. Overfishing. What's interesting is that this story has changed so much over the last 30 years. When Croatia was part of Yugoslavia, fishing was truly just meant as kind of like a family activity. The lives and livelihoods of Croatians back in the day were truly about subsistence type of fishing, small scale fishing. However, since entering the European Union, there have been huge incentives for other fishing companies to come into Croatian waters and catch so much fish. In the 90s, the Croatian fleet would catch 16,000 tons of bluefish, and today they're catching more than double that, more than 3 times that, 60,000 tons. So we're seeing huge amounts of fish being caught in Croatian waters. Most of the fish that are caught in Croatian waters are fish like anchovies and sardines, and unfortunately, there are only 6 out of 47 fish species that are not overfished in Croatia. So the majority of fish are being fished at an unsustainable rate, and if we continue fishing at this rate, they will go extinct in Croatian waters. Now, what's interesting is that once again, Croatia has this heritage of small scale, artisanal, family based fishing. So there's already a lot of boats that are registered. 95% of boats belong to those type of people, the small scale fishers. There are these industrial fishing boats called purse seines, where they essentially drag like a big net through the middle of the water column. And they are only 3% of the total registered boats in Croatia. But the 3% of these industrial fishing boats catch 90% of the fish in Croatian waters.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's crazy to think about how we fish truly can have a big impact on what we catch, how many are caught, and what the impacts may be for the folks who have been doing this for generations. There are a lot of people coming from different countries to fish in Croatia's waters. Italy has had a bad overfishing problem for years, and now they're entering Croatian waters to try and catch some of the fish stocks that are already depleted. Luckily, there are some restrictions. There is this marine protected area in between Italy and Croatia. And this is actually one of the biggest marine protected areas in the Mediterranean. In fact, it is the biggest. you'll see that there's this red area, and that's where fishing is not allowed. But in the blue areas, fishing is allowed, just two times per week. Um, when you think about the Mediterranean and you think that this is the biggest marine protected area in the entire Mediterranean Sea, and even still, it has zones that still allow fishing, it helps you realize just how much Europe and the Mediterranean basin countries have to do in order to check the problem of overfishing. These piecemeal approaches, where 1% of the Adriatic Sea is protected and it's still the largest protected area in the Mediterranean, listen, we need more action. And then last but not least, tomorrow is the first day of June, which officially marks the true start of the tourist season. So this is not to shame anyone going to any touristy destination. This is solely a precautionary tale and a way to ensure that when we travel this summer, we're being conscientious citizens, visitors, and respectful of the way that we can, once again, contribute to the solution and not the problem. So, for example, Croatia used to have a problem with so many boats on the water. If there are 350,000 boats registered on the water in Croatia, what happens when people go to the bathroom? I think sometimes it's this question that we don't even think about, but once we realize it, we really have no idea. Luckily, Croatia has been ahead of the game. In 2009, they launched this pollution control project in coastal cities, and Croatia water quality has been great ever since. Truly, the main source of pollution from over tourism is plastic. I'm sure we've all seen this when we go to a touristy city and we see these trash cans that simply can't fit another piece of litter in them. There's a 40% increase in marine pollution, marine plastic pollution every summer in the Mediterranean, simply because of everyone flocking to these nice beaches and coastal areas when it gets hot out. So, things you can do: simply reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, and rethink. That goes far beyond just the, oh, what can I do to make sure I only buy 3 plastic bottles a day instead of 5? And makes you wonder largely about what are the ways that you can contribute um, toward reducing the amount of trash that you might be generating.
Mark, remember the name of that Greek island that is not allowing any plastic anymore and they recycle everything?
Yes, there was this Greek island that's doing that. And there's honestly a bunch of fascinating sustainability initiatives by different Greek islands, like banning cars, reducing plastic pollution, setting quotas for how many tourists can visit the island a year. I don't remember the name of that specific Greek island, but definitely something that we can post in the chat or later in the event page.
And maybe to pass on some legacy from Captain Antonio, what is the most rare species in the Adriatic?
Oh my gosh, I think he called it the Adriatic bear, right?
Ah, I think that was what he was looking for. The monk seal?
Yes, the
That's it.
Mediterranean monk seal.
We'll go find that one next time.
Exactly. Might
Yes,
see it on the GoPro footage next time.
I remember also one thing that really stood out to me that Antonio was saying, which is a little bit more offside of the ocean protection, but the home island of the captain called Vis actually only opened for tourism in the 1990s.
Yeah, which is so cool to think too. It's so wild to be in Croatia and walk along these cobblestone streets with these buildings, and you just wonder just how old are they? And even though tourism can change certain things about a place and the culture, the heritage, the oldness of the buildings, what buildings remain, Croatia and islands like Fis are perfect example of what preserving that story and that heritage can look like. Truly feels like you're stepping back in time.
And 1,244 islands, we got a couple more trips to run, Mark.
That's great. I think we visited like three or four, five during our inaugural excursion. We're gonna have to keep a little a list and see how we can make progress on that checklist.
I feel like you can do that trip over and over again and it'd be different again. Also depending on the weather. Like Antonio was so knowledgeable depending on the wind. He would map out the route for the whole week and change course whenever needed. I'm truly impressed by that. It really signs a lot of professionalism and he really knows how to do his job well. Also, in terms of creating the vibes, it's truly magical. What happens on a boat? I don't know how you feel about that, Mark, but I feel like every time when I've joined that boat now, people just walk off hand in hand and they're connected for the rest of their time.
I mean, when you have such a beautiful location, you have this sense of community, not just because of the conversations that you have, but living on a boat, even a really nice boat like ours, is still close quarters. There are times when you have to help someone by making them eggs. You have to prevent the boat from hitting the next boat. So you put the, I don't even know the official names of these things, but you throw the
And
line over with the buoy. And so it just creates this environment where you're asking people, where you're giving people certain things. So it definitely is, once again, like a great way to build community.
and what about your tender adventures? The little boat.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. So we have a big boat, right? But then there's this little small boat with a little motor, or you can even make it a rowboat. And you can just take this into these beautiful areas. Wherever our yacht was parked, it was already stunning, the water. But being able to go into these different areas and check out this like submarine tunnel from back in the war days, so cool, so beautiful, so fun. Even some late night trips. It was a great
Yeah,
time.
you go all the way in as well. Yeah, it's so incredible. Like this time as well, again, we visited Viz, Hvar. We departed from Sibenik. We went to the ocean, the Blue Ocean Hole this time.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
right.
but we found your party boat from Split.
Yeah, when I was in Split the day before, I remembered trying to get on this like party boat thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to kick off this week on a boat too. Let's go. It turns out the party was the next day, but a week later, we saw that very same party from our boat going crazy, people jumping off. It was truly like 1 or 2 hours of like chaos next to us, but us absorbing the vibe, loving the vibe, dancing to their music. And then they left. So it was perfect. You got the experience.
And what did you think about Hvar when we arrived there? It's a gorgeous azul bay, isn't it? So peaceful.
It's so beautiful. It really is. And as you can see in this webinar, my last name is Haver. So I had big expectations and coming to an island that had almost every letter of my last name looks like my last name. And it truly is so beautiful. There's all these art galleries, artisanal shops, these little kiosks along the main road with beautiful jewelry, paintings, postcards. You can get gelato. You can walk up to the fortress through this really beautiful park. It's just so picturesque. I could imagine staying a whole week, even just in Var.
Let's go.
You have to
And
too.
yeah, and what about the dinner in the restaurant? I truly love that they do this all together as a family, and we're only allowed to stay there on that buoy in their private bay if we come and join for dinner. Um, so yeah, we basically had a lovely dinner there. Um, and from there, how did we go to Havar again?
How did we go to Havar after that? By
The
sailing.
banana.
Huh?
You remember the banana boats, the taxi.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, why get a taxi on land? You can get a nice little tender that pulls up to your boat. It was so cool.
Yeah, so basically, it's truly a magical experience to be able to float around all these islands on your private island. You never get bored of the scenery around. There's music on board. You have the freedom to hang out. I remember Christian. Christian would actually work a bit every morning, didn't he?
Yeah, Christian is a computer software engineer and he still had to do some projects. So it was really nice because you can wake up in one location, the Wi-Fi is stable, you can get some projects and emails out for the day, and then you can spend the rest of the day really however you like. The Wi-Fi was strong enough to do things like meetings, um, download things. So it really was a cool environment that allowed you to do just what you wanted.
Amazing. And for the following trip, it's departing on the 31st of August. We will get it together the day before in Split, so we can collectively move towards Sibinic and the yacht um, to take off for departure. From there, we'll be moving around with the boat. For one whole week, you will be sleeping on the boat. Um, your food on board and drinks are included. And obviously, if you go onto the land, it's for your own expense. We do a dinner in a restaurant. Hopefully, we can visit the same family again to support them. And then from there, we will move to a village which is surrounded by trees. The last time when we were there, it felt like we were on the African savannah. You can hear the crickets, chill by the poolside. It's just 300 meters away from the beach. And actually, the hidden gem town called Biograd Namoro. A lot of locals go there as well. Um, there's not necessarily many tourists from outside, which makes it a very unique place to stay. Um, and we have organized that everybody gets private accommodation there. So you have like a little bungalow where you can work from. Then you'll be able to work from the restaurant once the breakfast cleared out, or from your the table that comes with your accommodation. There's various places. And I actually also received the great news that the location installed 5G Wi-Fi, which is incredible. So we're really looking forward to see them again. The property is also locally owned by a Croatian family. So it's always great to support them. Do you have any questions, Koen, perhaps?
Great question. I would be very curious, like what's on the calendar? Like we've been talking about Croatia. I've seen some other things passing by.
Yeah, so at the moment, we're actually also working with two communities actually. One is more so driven towards ladies. Sorry, Koen. We will be announcing more on that later to up level business and career growth. Then together with the partner that Mark's working with as well, we're looking at creating experiences for creatives. And also at the same time, I'm working hard on building out partnerships and designing new tours for Italy. And also for Austria, we found a great partner that's got various locations throughout the whole of Austria. So I'm just waiting for her to return from a holiday or a colleague so we can start planning that, which should be very exciting. So yeah, that's the status in this moment. If you wanted to stay updated on future trips, I would recommend to subscribe on the website of driftawave.com, so we can update you. And in that newsletter, we'll actually also be sharing more things about travel inspiration, workation, productivity. Actually, I had a great idea today. I'm probably going to be starting a AI think tank for the community. Even this morning, I had a call with two girls who are actually helping with the marketing. Yeah, we just, again, I discovered that there's so much going on, but how do you know who's using what, how they're using it? So I think it's a great way to share knowledge, and hopefully also by getting the right talent into our community, We're hoping to uplift everyone all together. So if you have any friends that should know about this, definitely invite them, update them so we can continue to build incredible trips. Yes.
Also, what have been like the type of people that joined in the past, like their roles or their backgrounds?
Yeah, so for example, in tech sales, our previous colleagues from LinkedIn, so to say, we had a senior manager from Intel joining, entrepreneurs have been joining, location independent. What else? Yeah, actually different people from different backgrounds. And surprisingly, everybody got so inspired by each other because obviously everybody's on a different track on a journey and can learn different things from each other. So that was something that truly stood out to us. And even the trip last year, like we're all still in a chatting together and looking forward to when we can meet up again. Yeah, so mostly probably remote talent towards IT, marketing, creatives, entrepreneurs, there's freelancers. That would be mostly it. Yeah, mostly we're looking for the innovators, the creative, the high achievers, and the wild-hearted, because we're also looking to combine it with incredible nature settings and adventure activities, like, for example, skiing, snowboarding, surfing. Do you have any sports that you'd like to do when you're awake?
Oh, for sure. Actually, I spent 2 years ago a month in Corsica, so I'd be wondering if you visited that island as well. And I did some scuba diving there, and I've been
No,
surfing in the past.
that's incredible. That's good to know. I know we have some kite surfers in the club as well.
That's way too high up in the sky for me. I'll try to keep it at water level or below.
We'll make you fly on the vibes, Kun. No worries.
How was the
So
diving in Portugal?
that was quite amazing. Yeah, it was like a local UK couple who opened up a diving shop. So it
Right.
was like very, very cozy. I was the first diver of the season. It was still pre-season, so the water was very cold. So I went on like 3 dives, and they have like a records of a big container ship laying in the bay of Corsica. So we actually
Cool.
went like around the wreck and even through some things. So it was quite awesome. It's the first time I experienced like wreck diving,
That's really
Well,
cool. Love that.
and I can
yeah.
definitely recommend the islands in general. Like it's lovely.
Have you visited any other islands? For example, maybe Prague or Hvar, which are close?
So I've only been to the harbor and far with the boat that puts the tourists back and forth. So it didn't cut off, but we also went to the island opposite to Corsica. I wouldn't know the name, but they had like this huge mountain on top, and we climbed that mountain as well as like a day trip. But for the
Wow,
rest, Corsica had more than enough beaches and stuff. And we stayed like an entire month, like we were co-working a few years back. And yeah, I can definitely recommend that area.
amazing. Even we also visited the Primoste, you remember, Mark? It's so incredible. So how do you call it in English? It's not an island because it's detached onto the mainland. But it feels like you're on an island. And so we arrived there and they had like a local celebration.
Yeah, it's like a
And
very small peninsula.
all the locals, they came out in their traditional dressings. They had a band playing. They actually had a famous singing group from Sibinic who came in, and they were all singing together. It was really an incredible experience to land that event whilst traveling with the boat. And then actually Antonio also told us that they have this specific local music that is being passed on from father to son. So he he said that the next time we will go find some of that.
Mhm.
Okay. I think we're going to be running out of time. Thank you so much for coming. I hope to see both of you soon, to be honest.
Yes, me too. We're so excited for Driftawave's next trip.
Woohoo!
I'm
Thank
seriously
you.
looking into it, Gina. So more to come on that side.
Very excited. Yeah, I'm looking for a sunny destination for you, Koen, around November.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen.